Now we just need a jingle. Aloha mai kākou, mahalo nui a o koe hui ana no. Thank you for being here. My name is Kainoa Horcajo. I will be your moderator of this new salon series that is put on by Akakū in partnership with Maui Native Hawaiian Chamber of Commerce and the Maui Chamber of Commerce, thanks to a grant from Maui County's Office of Economic Development. It is called Maui Business Tuesdays. As you can see, it is a series of 6 salons over the next year, one every other month. And this inaugural salon is on Maui Hawaiian Fashion Designers, of course, 3 mana wahine next to me. We're so happy to have you here. I know you were all thrust into the spotlight right over here at short notice, so thank you for being here. And thank you to those of you in the audience for being here. Kat explained it earlier, and for those of you watching on Zoom, this is somewhat of a hybrid event. So we have live audience with us here, and there is the opportunity for anyone watching on Zoom or later broadcast on Akakū to register to be a live audience member so you can actually ask questions and see all of these beautiful faces in person, and of course watch the recorded or live on Zoom. Now, I have next to me here 3 amazing women, and we're going to get to ask questions from them, questions from you as well. And for those of you watching online, you can enter questions into the Zoom, and we will ask as many as we can get to in the next hour and a half or a little less. So just for quick reference, next to me here at my far left, we have Courtney Lazo of Henohea. We have in the middle Anna Kahalekulu of Kūlua, and Gemma Alvior of Pulelehua. Now, they say that a picture is worth 1,000 words and a video is about worth 1,000,000. So in order to get maybe some of our questions answered without having to ask them, the Akakū production team has created a promo video or a little sizzle reel of each of your businesses that we get to watch, and that'll kind of stimulate our questions and our thoughts as we move into this here. So let's roll those videos.
My name is Anna Kahalekulu. I am a fashion designer here on Maui and small business owner. Our brand is Kulua. The word itself translates as a pair or a mate. It is a reference for the island of Maui specifically, since we have our 2 mauna that stand together. I wanted to see something that spoke to culturally based fashion and something that was also locally manufactured. Setting up a business didn't really make a whole lot of sense if I was the only one who benefited. So I wanted to make sure, how can we do this so that our whole island benefits, so that there's jobs, it's bigger than just me. I draw inspiration from my own heritage and my own culture. My background is in Hula. So within Hula, you think about as a dancer is how do you adorn yourself? How do you tell your story? How do you connect with the places that are in all of the mele that you're perpetuating? And so the business and design really became my own vehicle for exploring those huge things that were really important to my own identity in a different medium. What inspires me as a designer is the women that were able to dress and the families that were able to dress. And I think often of how empowered you can be by the clothing that you wear and how grounded it can make you feel, how beautiful it can make you feel. And all of those sentiments are really what drives all of us here to have that little magic be a part of someone's day when they wear our brand. The color palette for Kulua is often inspired really by what we see around us. It's inspired by the colors in our aina and the elements that are around us to really celebrate here where we are up in Makawao in our studio. Our ideal customer is someone who lives here on Maui within our community, or that really appreciates pieces that you can wear throughout your day. And then also something that you can change out your slippers, put on some heels, add some jewelry, and feel ready for a night out. For someone who is new to our brand and just seeing and experiencing us, the number one thing that I hope they take away is the quality of the garment that we're able to produce, and also the depth of skill and technique that we're able to also do here on island within our own community and using our own people. One other thing that I hope people realize within Kulua is that it's not just me. I'm often the figurehead, and I'm the one, yes, who's the engine who keeps things going and has been able to grow this machine of a business that it is. But behind me is a great team, great seamstresses, great people who also love the work, and a really supportive family, and then our community that we've been able to serve for the last 10 years and hopefully for another 10 into the future.
Aloha, my name is Courtney Lazo, born and raised Lahaina. And Henohea really is a brand that was born out of heartbreak, hope, inspiration. It was a way for me to find healing after the loss of everything that happened in Lahaina, after losing everything ourselves in the fire, and being a mom to a newborn again after over a decade of infertility. The pregnancy and knowing that I was going to be bringing life into this world after we have just lost everything except for literally the clothes on our back became a beacon of light, and it gave me hope and something positive to look forward to, and became basically a light at the end of the tunnel for me. My son, Henohea, it's short for Henohea Makawao, which was a name he was gifted from a kumu here and an auntie of mine, and it means the beauty that rises from the ashes. This brand just really means more than just a brand. It's really anchored in hope. I launched Henohea, the brand, in November of 2024. And it was a successful event, and the community was really supportive and eager to support what I was doing. This is also a way for me to amplify the work that I do within Lahaina Strong for the different things that we advocate for, especially around Aina and Vai. So I didn't want to source fabrics that contributed to microplastics that would go into our Aina or into our water. Being that I had struggled with infertility for over a decade, it was important to me to not contribute to disrupting hormones or the endocrine system of the women who would be wearing our clothing. First and foremost, whenever I design anything, it's Lahaina. It's the people in Lahaina. I do get a lot of feedback, which has helped me influence the pieces that we create. It also gives me an opportunity to contribute to my community in a different way. We do a 5% give back to help Maui rise. We do have like a donation option right now currently, and we're in the works of designing a whole new collection that will go 100% proceeds to Lahaina Community Land Trust, which will, keeps people home in Lahaina, keeps Lahaina lands in Lahaina hands. I like doing the online sales because I do have to find some sort of balance between my work as community advocate of Lahaina Strong. And then I do like to do the pop-ups because I can choose, whenever I am available, and I can take on in-person events because it allows me to connect with people. As far as where I see Henohea going, it's just to continue to build on that. But I like the flexibility to be able to do this and build this life around my family versus the other way around.
My name is Gemma Alvior. I'm the designer and the owner for Pulelehua. I grew up in California. I'm not Native Hawaiian. I am full Filipino. I embrace the culture, but I started dancing hula when I was 12 years old there. So because I competed at Mayor Monarch, and that was my whole inspiration, wanted to be a designer, is that I said one day, I'm going to be a designer. I'm going to have halaus wearing my clothes. And I just can't believe that I started my swap meet days. Back in 2013, I was making jewelry. I told myself, okay, what goes well with jewelry? And that's clothes. Pulelehua was launched in 2018. Before I think of a pattern, I do a research, and I also talk to my hula sisters. That's been the back of the brand. My goal was to embrace the Hawaiian culture, design clothes that has meaning behind, based on the things that you see here in Hawaii, especially here in Maui. As a designer, I feel that I've reached the pinnacle, the outmost goal that I always wanted in back of my mind was to have a halau, wear my clothes on that stage, and Of course, I dance for Halau Kekua Kalaua Ala Iliahi. My kumu is Haunani and Iliahi Paredes here in Wailuku. I still dance with them. I just had hula practice last night. Yeah. So we're in the aunties class. So having my own halau, my kumu asking me for me to dress them, it's a great feeling. Sometimes I get so speechless, like, oh my God, kumu Haunani was like my inspiration. And so Lahaina Luna, they were invited to participate at the Hoike. These girls never danced to Merry Monarch. They've never been to Merry Monarch. They never danced Merry Monarch. They just danced at Lahaina Luna. And Jamie's the kumu at Lahaina Luna. They got invited to dance the Hoike night, and they wanted to honor Lahaina Luna. And she's like, do we have something? Do you think you can help them? I was like, yeah, of course. What do we have? How many of them, I found a beautiful dress, and instead of me selling it, I just said, you know what? Come, get your size, take it. It's beautiful feeling. It's such a beautiful feeling, Doing all these fashion shows, it was to a point where it's like, okay, Pulelehua is out there. I did pop-ups at Queen Kamanu on Mother's Day, Christmas. So after COVID, that's when I said, okay, I think it's time for me to retire. So I retired Hawaiian Airlines, and I did a Christmas pop-up here in Maui Mall. Yeah, it went really well. And then in January, I closed it, and I was like, what else can I do? What am I going to do? And I told my husband, I was like, I want to keep this as my store. And so Pulelehua Boutique opened 2023 in February. Yeah, it became my brick and mortar.
Oh. I mean, I think I just went through an emotional roller coaster of all the feelings in that little bit of time, right? I mean, that was incredible production from Akakū. And, to tell a story and so complex of a stories in so little of a time. I mean, I felt the despair, the hope, the resilience, the inspiration, the aspiration, all of that kind of wrapped up in all of yours. Now that we've sort of seen all of that, I'd love to just spend a little time to have us all share a little bit more. Was there anything else that wasn't shown there that you feel you want to make sure is first out of your mouth, first from your heart, so to speak, for the people here in this room and those, watching? And we will go like this way. So we'll start with you, my dear.
Aloha. Hi, my name is Gemma. I would, from a girl living, raised in California, started dancing hula. I embraced the culture. So moving here, I've been here, 23 years now. I've come to a point where I've met wonderful hula sisters. My kumus are amazing. You just have to embrace the culture, especially coming from a mainland person, and you want to respect the culture. You want to make sure that you are doing your research and asking about the name or what the pattern you're making, and you just want to definitely always just embrace the culture and represent it well, not just put a flower on a pattern and not have no meaning behind it. So that's how I reflect on how I've been through, and I'm not a Hawaiian, but the best thing is just doing your research and connecting with your hula sisters, talking to your kumus, talking to the native council people, like Kumu Pueo Pata. I mean, there's just a lot of people out there that you can actually relate to, that you can ask questions if you want to really get into depth of, the Hawaiian culture, and just always, just embrace it and, we call it Hawaiian at heart in the mainland. So I have that Hawaiian at heart. And so I think I didn't really put too much into it, but it shows on the pictures, the videos.
And the more you give, the more you get, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Gemma. Anna?
I'm not sure that I have anything to add beyond what was presented in the video, but mahalo to Akakū for that. That was just beautiful. Yeah. I think there's threads of my why and my purpose that was shown in both Gemma's and Courtney's videos as well. And I think that's really telling on who we are as a community and what really drives us as a people here on Maui. So yeah, it's wonderful to be here and wonderful to be with all of you.
Thank you, Anna. Courtney?
Aloha, mai kako. I'm Courtney. Yes, mahalo Kat, Vinny, and the Akakū team for putting those videos together. It's the first time I've seen it, I think all of us. So I was like, oh my gosh, keep it together. Great job. I think, if anything, I would want to leave you with on top of that is every single design in Henohea has been inspired by either memories of life in Lahaina, inspired by stories, and with one of our more recent collections, inspired by a generation that may not get to see Lahaina fully rebuilt. And so one of the questions during our interview, it wasn't in the video, but there was a question about how do I come up with the designs and the process, and I really don't have a process. It's just in response to what's happening around me, and the recovery in Lahaina is very fluid. So there is really like no seasons or no seasonal drops. It just kind of happens randomly, but it is a collective effort of people back home.
Each of you in these videos have spoken about something that's more than just making clothes, right? And I think for maybe a lot of us, the idea of being a business owner or a fashion designer or any sort of creative, a lot of times in the Western world, it's a very selfish process. It's about personal success. It's about getting rich or becoming famous. But from those videos and from what I know of all of you, there's so much more. It's about community. It's about where you're from. And you all have talked about being somewhat of a nexus. You are taking elements of the past, memories, hula, where you come from, the research, and you're putting it on fabric that will carry into the future. Why is that the way it is for you? And why do you think that is, it seems that's a part of Hawaii, but how do you each just represent that so well? Why is that the norm here and not everywhere?
I think the norm here is because we have a beautiful island. We are surrounded by mountains, flowers, and greeneries and the ocean. So with us, we like from Pulelehua brand, my orchid flower is actually because of my mother. My mother, she passed away 2 years ago. She grew orchids in her backyard in California. And so the year that she was diagnosed with cancer, I took pictures of her orchid and I said, Mom, I'm going to make a pattern out of this orchid. So there's meaning behind every design that I create, but the orchid will always stay in my store. The orchid stays because of my mother. Like what I'm wearing right now, the crown flower was because my daughter danced keiki hula. So keiki hula has always been part of her life, and then dancing into Mare Monarch. So Queen Liliuokalani is her favorite flower, the crown flower. So I was invited to be a vendor at this year's keiki hula, but when I looked at the date, I realized it was like 2 weeks before Made in Hawaii. So it's like, do I launch at keiki hula or do I launch everything at Made in Hawaii? So I backed out, and then I ended up just launching it, Made in Hawaii. So I wanted to honor our Queen Liliuokalani because of my daughter danced in Keiki Hula, and so we have Hawaii just has that beautiful meaning behind every flower that you see. Especially living in the mainland, you see a lot of people wearing aloha shirts, but it's not really, there's no connection to it. It's just a flower that, they put in and there's nothing. But here, we have a connection. We live on the island. We create the pattern. We have the meaning behind it. And that's what makes us different, is because we have memories, we have things that happen in our life that we want to create the flower, the lei. So I think that what makes us, different and unique in our fashion, in our Hawaii fashion.
Do you guys want to answer that? Or I have so many. Please.
I feel like you left off at a good spot that I can piggyback on.
Nice.
Just where you ended, I think part of that too is we come from a culture that is, I don't want to say probably misrepresented. And I mean, aloha wear is beautiful. It's wonderful. The history of aloha wear was very tourism driven back when aloha wear first started. And then you have our people coming in and saying, oh yeah, but actually there's more to this. And this is a lot of our own thought processes and our own way we've been adorning ourselves before aloha wear. And so there's this second type of ownership, which I think has driven the industry to be more authentic, more grounded in culture, rather than selling culture that we often see in the tourism industry. I know that's generalizations, but more or less, yeah. I think for me, one place that I often draw inspiration from is always going to be like, what are the mo'olelo, and then what are the elements around us? I think some of my favorite prints that Kulua has done have been related to Makawao as a place where our shop is, or related to the rains that we have. And so we have a couple of different rain prints, since we have so many different rains on Maui that come from different places and have different characteristics. And all of that, to me, is a way to both honor the mo'olelo, honor the place, also honor the person who's dressing themselves, and then, in a way, manifesting. So what intentions are we setting? What stories are we telling? That whole idea of, if we can understand our rains more, then will we get more rain? That's kind of like what I'm obsessed with at the moment. And our newest print is an Ulalena rain. And to me, knowing those names, using them, sharing their stories, helps to manifest what do we need as an island and where do we go next.
So, I love that so much, and I'm wondering if you would share an actual specific example. You mentioned the Ulalena, but about what is a story, a mo'olelo that you saw, you took an element, you converted into a fabric, and help, ground it for everyone here.
I think the first example that comes to mind is one of our very first prints that we did. Was it 2017 maybe? And it was our Pohaku line of prints. And we're still known by it. We still get requests for it. It might come back soon-ish in the future. But Pohaku, I guess, the mo'olelo behind it is a little bit more abstract, because I think Pohaku as an element in culture is like a keystone grounding element. You see it in our mo'olelo, you see it in our mele, but Pohaku, like, you cannot, in traditional Hawaiian society and culture, you couldn't survive without Pohaku. It's how you cooked your food. It's how you built your hale. It was the foundation for everything and the keystone for everything. So I got inspired just because I really enjoy observing beautiful Pohaku and rocks. And thinking about the importance and understanding mele like Kaulana Napua, where they talk about how the rocks are enough for us. That's life-sustaining, soul-sustaining, and the fact that we don't need any of these foreigners, any of their foreign documents, but the rocks are enough for us. So that was inspiration for our Pohaku line, and it's something that I don't always put out there necessarily, because for me and for fashion in general, I feel like the wearer is the ultimate vehicle, like the ultimate medium. So even though I have a certain intention and mo'olalo behind it, sometimes it's not quite as shared, just because it's important that it connects with the wearer. And of course, we share it enough so that they can connect to it. But ultimately, I think there's a beauty in someone seeing something, being drawn to it, and maybe not having the full cultural depth of it. And that's still appropriate.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's easy for me to piggyback off of that now. For Henohea, one collection or a series of collections that comes to mind is we've been working on telling the story. One way that I use Henohea and I create designs, not just for memories, but also to tell the history. And being that Lahaina is still very much in a fight, for Vai, if you have seen in the news, we're still dry. We're in a water shortage, much like the rest of the island, for Aina and things like that. So I really wanted to reverse and go back into history and share what ultimately led up to the fire. And we start at Mauna Kahalawai, which we have that collection already, and it ends at Mala Wharf, and we have that collection already, and it'll be different chapters going down from Mauka to Makai, and then partnering with community advocates, people who have been fighting for Aina and Vai for longer than I've been alive, and just learning from them. And selfishly, it's a way for me to also learn, because we don't get to learn things like this about our home in school. You have to go and seek the information from other people. So this is just a way for me, one, to learn myself, because this is important. I think for a lot of us, we just kind of turn a blind eye to the issues that are happening in our communities, because we think that we're powerless against the powers that be to make any sort of change. So ideally, for me, creating pieces and working in partnership with different people in our communities to just raise that awareness and get people thinking, not just in Lahaina, but even in different communities. So when we share the mo'olalo, it'll get them thinking about what are the issues that are in my community and that we can raise awareness and start advocating for. So what happened to Lahaina doesn't happen anywhere else. So that's one of the ways that I like to use this vehicle. And also it's the more fun part of the work, because I feel like we're such in survival and fight all the time that I need something to keep me creative and create the balance so that it's easy to spiral into the stories and into the loss. And however, I'm a firm believer in trying to hit all the birds with one stone. I'm like, how many birds can I hit with this one stone? And that's what we just try to strive with all the things across our brand.
You shared something there about, using the brand as and what you're doing as a vehicle, and you talked about giving power to the powerless, and that sense of agency or representation, right, is so important. And I think there's so many people watching. The hope is that you've got young local girls going, hey, I could be that. Look, they're up there doing what I want to do, and they see that, right? Whether it's a movie star or a fashion designer, right? You give hope to the youth that wants to be like us. Now, Anna, you went to college and taught fashion design, but did you too? Like, how did you guys start learning how to sew? Right. I think a lot of us probably how does one begin at that? And you're kind of the newest, the brand launched in 23. So how did that happen? How did you go from doing other stuff to sewing? And I mean, this, right?
For the record, I don't sew.
Okay.
I wish I could. I asked my mom and my sister-in-law, they both sew. Because I grew up having a lot of my clothes sewn from my mama's and her friends and just people in our community. Unfortunately, most of them are no longer with us, or after the fire, they were displaced. So I get my items manufactured. But it's a goal. I tell my mom, like, you're retired now. You want to do this? She's like, no, absolutely not. And my sister-in-law, she also has her own brand, and she sews. Try to get her to do it too. And she was like, I got two under two. And I can't do all of that. So I really admire that about you, is watching your piece. I was like, that's goals right here. That's amazing and a huge inspiration.
I'm same way. I don't sew. I can't even cut straight. I can't even draw straight. You should see my. I'm more of a chicken scratch. My writing, my line is all, it's not there. I major in criminal justice, actually. So, but I always wanted to do fashion. Back in my head, I always wanted to do fashion. My mom used to make art. She made my, that's when, now I think about it, my mom made my prom dress, and it was like this big puffy sleeve, and she made my dress. So I would watch my mom sew. I started with the seamstress. I asked one time, we were finished practicing for Mayor Monarch, I asked my Hula sisters, I was like, do you guys know anyone that can sew? And then they told me, Oiwa. Oiwa is sewn for Keli'i Rochelle's Halau, Uluvehe Guerrero's, and other halaus that she's sewn for. I mean, her life was just sewing. Fortunately, she passed away. So before, when she got sick, I was at her house almost every night. Every day I was dropping off materials. I would go to not Ben Franklin. I would go to Fabric Mart. I would look at fabrics that does not look too touristy, but look, pretty. And then I got into casual movements that was making pareos, and I was like, hey, I think I can make a shirt out of this, So yeah, I outsourced the materials now because of Oiwa is no longer here, and Auntie Ida is my other seamstress, and she's a little older now. She can't sew anymore, but I can't sew. I think I sew in home ec in high school, an apron, and it was backwards. So I was like, okay, sewing is not my thing. But we started off with seamstress, and she was amazing. And before she was getting really sick, she did introduce me to her family. We did Zoom meeting, and we created my first pattern with the ohia, and so. While Oiwa was, she was, battling her sickness, I was talking to her family Zoom meeting, and we were just trying to create the patterns and create the sewing. But unfortunately, we couldn't get it all together. But I found a manufacturing company that I do outsource. I have 3 that I outsource, and currently I am working on the Philippines. So I want to give back to my people, and I've been flying to the Philippines for the last couple of years, and I want to find something that can create the things that I want to create. Yeah, so I don't sew. Sorry.
Well, and I love that you honored the seamstress in the video. You mentioned her there, and I think that's such a part of it. And see, I'm even revealing my ignorance with the whole thing, because sewing is such not a small part, but one part of this business that is marketing and branding and design and research and all of that stuff. And I want to turn it over to our audience to see if we have any questions, and make sure that if there are questions from from Zoom as well. So why don't we do that real quick? Let's see. Does anyone have any burning questions? Yes, please.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. I'm actually representing the Sandy seamstress, and we just started teaching sewing. And me and Stable are, trying to bring out more sewing classes and stuff. So I wanted to come here and represent and, connect with this huge fashion community that we actually have here. And I think one of my main question was I'm really interested in your sustainable fabric research and sourcing. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of rabbit holes. So how it even started is I talked a little bit about my infertility journey. My son, Henohea, who's also here, he's now 1.5 years, and my child before that is right here, and he's 15. So that's how long it took. And when I was doing fertility testing, at this point, I was already, trying to be healthy. I was working out. I was eating clean. I was doing yoga and journaling and inner work and all the things. And I still wasn't having any luck. So I went to the doctor and we did a full thing, fertility testing. It wasn't fun. Don't recommend it. But during that, they discovered that I had very high levels of formaldehyde in my bloodstream. And I was like, formaldehyde? What would I get formaldehyde from? They're like, nail polish, potentially things that you're wearing, like your clothes, or things that touches your skin. And so I started to do research on that, especially more so after the fire, because I needed things to keep my mind busy while we were in temporary Red Cross housing, a lot of Chat GPT and Google. And I found that a lot of fabrics, especially, I always used to wear like swimwear and workout clothing, because I would work out every day and I would stay in it, and they're famous for having high levels of just toxic chemicals, and including formaldehyde. So being that our community has experienced a lot, especially with the fire and the days after, a lot of us are going into Lahaina with no PPE, because as we know, Red Cross and FEMA and all the people took a really long time to get to Lahaina, and we were all just trying to get home and see what we could salvage. So we were sifting through ash and smoke, and things were still on fire. I wanted to create clothing that wouldn't contribute to that. I know it's like a really small thing for me to be thinking about, and I don't always share this, but I don't want to contribute to the detriment of my community's health in that way, because I already know, like, we've all gone through the testing. We all know like what's in our body from that fire. And I just wanted to do my part, that if I knew that my biggest support system was going to come from Lahaina, I wanted to make sure that I put things out there that was safer for them, safe for human health, safer for the Aina. So it was a lot of research. I also have friends that went to school, off to school, and did fashion and opened up brands and things like that. And I had asked, and just, a lot of research and 2 a.m. doom scrolling and reading. And it doesn't end. And that's just kind of how it ultimately started, from that blood work and that I got. And
that's a touchy subject. But I feel like it's super important, because I'm always, sorry, I talk a lot. But I just feel like it's super important, because I'm always looking, I buy fabric here, I buy fabric in the fashion district in LA, I buy fabric online, as do, all the seamstresses here. There's so many brands, so we're all sourcing in all different departments. So I just feel like that should be like a good key point for our fashion community to, be aware of, at least have some kind of direction to go for. Like, I know it's, a huge industry, but if we can at least be a little bit conscious about these little things that, I think it makes a big difference, and I'm super inspired by it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I think one thing I'd like to add to that is I also like to source fabric that's OEKO-TEX certified, which that type of material is tested against thousands of harmful chemicals. And if you ask a manufacturer, or if you go and purchase your fabric, you can actually ask them for their certificate that ensures that they are they follow these standards, and that their material is safe according to these standards. And And I'm starting to see a lot, like if you go in shopping, I went to Ross and they had it on the towels and things like that. I'm like, oh, this is great. It's almost like the GMO stamp of fabric. So that's like one small way, I think, to go ahead and like a good place to start. I like to tell people that ask me that question, because that question comes up a lot. And certainly it might not be perfect, but it's at least one step in the right direction and something for us to keep in front of mind when we're sourcing fabric.
Anna, I know that the sustainable fabrics is also so, central to Kūlua. And just if there's anything you wanted to share too, because I know that's part of kind of your ethos as well.
You did a good job kind of recapping it. When you talk about sustainability in fabrics, there's a whole process to consider. So it's whether it's grown, whether it's pumped from the earth, your original fiber, how it's manufactured, what happens to the waste during manufacturing process, then how it's dyed, what happens during the dyeing process, how it's printed, et cetera, et cetera. And so the fashion industry itself is hugely wasteful, hugely not so great for a lot of reasons, but it's getting better. And so you have really great fabrics that are coming out, really great companies that are spearheading a lot of research and development to where you have fabrics that are produced in a closed loop process. So any waste that is created during the process is then reused and kept in the loop and not dumped in rivers. So there's a lot to be excited about in the fashion industry, but at the same time, there's the issue of fast fashion and overproduction, and there's so much fabric out there. It's mind-boggling. So it's like, why are we necessarily creating more fabrics? That's another issue. Like it's a lot of doom scrolling, and it's a huge problem. And it's something that's also overwhelming. I'm sure you've experienced it too. But I think for us as a brand, we do our best to make sure that we choose the best fabrics that are good, that feel good, that breathe. And then in our production process, we don't throw away our scraps. We give them away. We repurpose them as much as possible. And so we do our best to make sure that we're not adding to our landfill, that we're creating garments that hopefully our customers will wear for years and wear them again and again. And hopefully they'll be in the vintage shops in another 20 years. That's always what I like to imagine when we're creating. So
I miss, the quilts of all the old, you take the old, Aloha prints, and everyone's got the quilts of all the different prints. And in 20, 30 years, it'll be all these new fashion, designers, all your guys' stuff. So it's so exciting. Please, excuse me, wait for the mic as well, just so they can get you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Julia. I'm so happy to be here because all three of you are so heart-filled, My question is, do any of you, do you sketch? I'm talking about your designs. Like, do you like to sketch? Do you do it on the computer? How do you, start designing that way?
I'll start. I don't know how to draw. I don't know how to draw. I just have a vision. I look in my closets. I look in the closet and I just look at things and I'm like, wow, I like this outfit. I like this style. And then I send it to my seamstress will, she'll create the pattern. I mean, not the pattern. She'll create the sketching, or I don't even know the name of it. But yeah, she'll create it from a piece of white paper in her living room, and then she'll just and then she'll tweak it a little bit, and then because Oiwa is a seamstress from many, many years. She's a well-known seamstress here, especially for the halaus. So she can create what I ask her to create, and she just, it's it's amazing where she can come out, and I just go, I just let her. I tell her what I vision. I tell her what I like, and then she'll create the pattern, and then I would have to go. I mean, she would tell me to go to Ben Franklin?
You really like
I'm sorry, I really like Ben Franklin. I don't know what it is. Fabric Mart, I'm sorry, Fabric Mart. I would go to Fabric Mart, and if I chose the wrong color, I mean, just a little slight wrong color, no, go back. And I'm like, okay. And it's to a point where she would cut out a small piece of the material from the fabric, and she goes, you need to match it. So yeah, it was a lot of, she made me do a lot of stuff, and but it's amazing how she can create things that when I tell her what I'm looking for, or can we tweak it, this shirt, can we make it to where everyone can fit it, it's there. I mean, it's a lot of work, but she was amazing. Yeah.
Nice. So I think the question, it was Juliet, right? Kind of.
Did I?
Is it sketching on the computer, the art, the patterns?
Sorry, I don't draw. I can't draw. I just visualize. I have lots of vision. Yes, I look in my closet and I look at the shirt and I'm like, how can I tweak this? I major in criminal justice, so I never. I can't even draw a straight line. Yeah, yeah. So my seamstress was just, she just knew what I was looking for, and she knew how to measure to where it would kind of fit almost everyone. Yeah, she was amazing. And then I have Auntie Ida, who's a little bit older, and she did all of St. Anthony's uniform. So hers is more of, Auntie Ida was a little bit more like tube top kind, something different, basic that she can do that I know I'm not gonna, because she was a little bit on the older side, and I didn't want to, have her do too much. But it was more like the tube top dresses, but Oiwa did a lot of the stuff that I started with, and I wish I know how to draw. I can't even draw a straight line, so. Yeah, that's the best way to start. You got to tweak it. You don't want to like copy the same, the exact same thing. So always tweaking and, adding your own flair to it. So that's how I started with the clothes that Oiwa sewn for me, and then just trying to sourcing the fabric and sourcing the pattern. It takes a lot of work in the beginning, but it's here.
What about you, Anna? What's your favorite part?
Sewing, maybe. I spend maybe 10% of the time designing. And to answer your question, I actually enjoy drawing, and vision is very important though, because otherwise you're not going to get anywhere. But I enjoy drawing. So a lot of our prints, if I did them or other artists have done them, they're usually hand drawn to begin with, and then we digitize and create the repeat and the pattern on the computer from there. And then most of our styles will start with little doodles in my notebook here and there. But designing is really a small portion of what I spend my time doing. And sewing kind of takes the most time for everything.
I draw our designs. I'm one of the designers that will draw them. And actually, Henohea, the brand, didn't start off as clothing. I started drawing in the middle of the night while I was nursing my baby and trying to keep myself awake. And what it was a way for me to, my first design was also orchid. It was okika that was in our yard. And I would do this exercise because I think a part of me fears that I'm going to forget the small details of what made home home. So I would close my eyes and I would walk up my driveway and walk through my house and our yard. But my mama's, because I lived in a multi-generational home and it was a 5-generation home, there were, decades of orchids in the yard. And so that night, like 2 a.m., I started drawing it on my iPad. specifically Procreate with my Apple Pencil. And that's how it started. And it's branched from there. I have cousins that will help me draw. I have a cousin that's from Molokai, graduated Molokai from Mana'e Valley, and she's in Princeton for art. Yeah, so she's went to Hawaiian immersion her entire life and landed at Princeton. So kudos to her. And I was like, hey, do you want to help me draw this design that Mama brought up and this memory that she wants us to preserve? And so that's how that collaboration started. I have a collection with my other cousin, Pulelehua, who's also a part of Lahaina Strong. And he helped, he drew the design about Mala Wharf and how the Ninue fish came back into Mala and talking about the waters being able to flow. So that's the process right now. We all just use an iPad and an Apple Pencil and turn it into a PDF file and send it off to get printed.
Amazing. Yes. Wait for the mic. Please.
Hey, how's it? I'm Ron. It's interesting because the vibe I get from you guys, I guess it's hard enough to survive as a successful business in Hawaii, let alone thrive. It would be interesting for you guys to comment on, you guys don't seem like competitive businesses, more like from a bigger ohana. Have you guys considered, well, what are your thoughts on that? And could you guys consider interesting collaboration between the three of you guys? Thank you.
Anna? I don't know.
Well, competition is just not where it's at. It's collaboration because we live on an island and it's small and our resources are limited. And so that's what we all have to draw on together. And yeah, collaboration for sure.
Yeah. Collaborations are wonderful. Even photographers, when photographers when they want to start out their photography business, when they reach out to us, it's like, sure, let's do it. Collaboration is very big here. That would be awesome. Yeah, that'd be good. It'll blow up. No, I was just joking. It'll be wonderful. That would be amazing. We never, collaborating with photographers, models, and other designers. Like my daughter. My daughter has her own bathing suit line. It's Kuluna Kinis. She started when she was a sophomore in high school. She wanted me to buy her this specific brand. And I asked her how much it was, and it was very expensive for a small little piece of material. And I said, "What? No, And so she goes in her room and got upset, and then she comes back. She's like, "What if I design my own?" I said, "Why don't you? We do have, we have this resource, we have the sources, and we have the, pick up a pattern." Or your favorite flower, which is the puakenekene. So my daughter launched her bathing suit line, Kuluna Kinis, sophomore year in Baldwin High School. She was, So my daughter and I, we collaborate, but we never really done a fashion show collaboration together. I believe that is one dream to have, by collaborating with everyone here. That would be great. Yeah, competition is. There's a lot of designers out there, especially in Maui or Honolulu. That's the biggest of the fashion. I think, in my opinion, Maui is a little bit more. We're more calmer and less fashionista. But we have events that we can, be fashionable, and being, meeting first time. Well. Not first time, but yeah, we see each other at craft fairs and stuff. But that would be interesting. That would be really nice. We could do something. You can sew. That'd be great.
Well, it's so interesting, and thank you for bringing up that idea, because I think we see that so much, right? Just competition is kind of this. I mean, it's there, but it's friendly competition, and it's a rising tide that lifts all ships, right? Having that concept of just, hey, we all in this together, is really special. Kat, did we have? I see you. Yes.
Question. Yeah, talking about the competition, you know, in certain industries here, especially jewelry industry, you see a lot of people copy each other's, and you know, you hear people going, "Oh, they're making the same thing," or it could be even there's a painter out in Hana, and she's, you know, people do the lei paintings that she does, and she gets upset, you know. But I think there's enough, like on Maui, you guys each have a unique perspective to your styling, to your inspiration, etc. Actually, when I was doing research for this particular theme, it was kind of difficult to find specific Maui people who have your unique styling and stories, you know. So I think Maui's cool in that way because it hasn't been saturated like some other islands where there is a lot of fashion being done there. So I guess I don't have a question. It's really just to say that I see that each of you has a very unique aesthetic and inspiration behind your designs that really shows through. So I can't see where it's competitive to what you do.
May I add to that? I'm inspired by them because they have, you know, a brick and mortar. And I think about bringing this back to Lahaina when we do rebuild our town, you know, that it is my hope that more local designers are the ones that fill up all the storefronts, that we get rid of like the Liberty houses and I don't know, whatever the other bigger chain stores. Okay, Liberty House can stay. I don't even think we have Liberty House. Maybe Macy's? No, Macy's, no, they're still there.
Macy's bought them out.
Oh, they bought them out. I don't even know. But but you know, there's always this theme of like diversifying our economy. And I don't know about the both of you, but what I've noticed when I do pop-ups or I do online sales, most of it is 99% is local buyers. We support each other. I mean, I'm a designer. I think that's the first time I said that out loud. But I have my own brand and things like that. But I still shop other designers because I love their clothing. If they have stories behind them, I love the pieces and the stories behind it. And I like opening up my closet and being like, all right, this isn't Fashion Nova anymore. I didn't buy my things from Target. Like, it's a piece of someone else's story from Maui. And I think when we can look at it that way, at least for me anyway, it doesn't feel like competition. It's just kind of like this whole everyone's going to rise with the tide type of thing. And I think we should have more local designers out there with brick and mortar and filling up the mall spaces and things like that, because then we can support each other and just keep our economy flowing and going in that way. Because everyone has such beautiful stories to share. There's no reason why we're all working in industries we're not particularly happy with while we set these dreams aside, thinking that we can't make it, because clearly you can.
I love that. And total plug now, because it's a perfect segue into the Maui Makeke that we're going to have at Holomua Friday, November 14, right, at the Grand Wailea. I think we have 70 retail vendors. I believe both of you are going to be there, yes. Right? And so I know, you know, everyone, we have some Honolulu guys like Mana Olarem popping up, but I'm so stoked on how many Maui, vendors, from the fashion designers to jewelry, home goods, which I know you also do home goods, right? And all of that is going to be at the Grand Wailea for the Maui Native Hawaiian Chamber of Commerce Holomua event, which is totally open to the public to come and shop all day from 8 to 4. And because we're a partner in this, I get to plug it. And because you two are going to be there as well. So an opportunity to come down and shop them. I will be shopping for the entire Christmas holiday season that day. This conversation about competition, collaboration, and Kat's comment brought up a really interesting point, because we are in a new age. 10, 15 years ago, everyone had the shirts like the Ainokea, these T-shirts, and now we're in a new age of this beautiful local Hawaiian fashion, and everyone has a little twist that makes it yours. I wonder if you can speak to that. Like, what sets you apart from all the other designers, right? Because that is where we see, there's only so many puakenikeni, crown flower, tuberose, pikake, whatever. And we can all do those things, but each of you have something that sets you apart. What do you think is it that sets you, your brand, apart from the others? We go like this.
For Henoha, I think it's definitely the stories behind it. I think I've created awareness around the brand where when people come to shop, they'll pick up a piece and be like, what is this one about? Because not everything that I have in my in-person pop-ups make it online. I do produce our pieces in a very small batch. So the last time I launched something online and I had a whole bunch of pop-ups coming up, I sold out in a week and a half and I had no inventory. So I'm doing it the other way around, where I don't put it online yet, but it's really cool for people to come up and be like, hey, what is this story about? And I'll share them. And they're just like, yep, that one. And I think that's what makes a lot of the brands unique is because like you said, there's only so much puakenikeni and all these different things that you can design, and you see them across many different brands across Hawaii. And I think it's just a meaning that we give to it, and it's if the person can connect to it, obviously if it looks great, but yeah, just a personal connection that you have to the story, I think, is what helps us set brands apart. And I also think it's the person, it's the designer, it's the person that welcomes you when you step into their space. I've certainly supported a few businesses, even local actually, where I bought all their things and then I met them in person and I was just like, oh, I don't know about this. I don't think I want to support you anymore. You're kind of, this is not what I was expecting. So like that's also important to me, like not even just the customer service, but you can genuinely feel when they enjoy what they do and they share that love. And I look for that when I shop. Because I feel like, okay, well, if you love it, then I'm going to love it. But if I walk up and you're just like, like, okay, maybe not. So it's just like the energy, the intention you put into your brand, the personality. Because I believe that when people go and shop, they're not just shopping your brand. It's like you. They want to support you as a person and as an individual.
Agreed. Definitely the story behind it. I don't know if it's so much me as it is our team at the shop. I think they do a better job of connecting than I do. And I'll admit that right out. And I think for Kulua, the other thing that sets us apart will be our styles. Since we do all of our patterns in-house, we have a little bit different elements that we're able to do, like our cute little ruffle collars. It's kind of our signature, and we've done it in lots of different ways just for fun.
I agree. I agree with you guys. Well, Pulelehua, I was given that name by my Hula sister. So one practice, when we were practicing for Mary Monarch 2016, Pulelehua in Hawaiian means butterfly. So, I'm very sociable. Always valorowing after practice or wherever I'm at, I'm always talking. But so that name was given to me, and I told myself if I ever launch a clothing line, I'm gonna name it after that. So with my brand, I think about the things that are happening in my life, my children's, my girls, Hula, and creating it is when because my store is at Maui Mall, Maui Mall Village, Maui Mall Village. I get the cruise ships. So the cruise ships comes, they come in, and in the mainland, Hawaii is hibiscus flowers. Just add not tea leaf. Palm leaf, or just add any kind of flowers, and it turns into a aloha wear. So when they come into my store, we educate them. We let them know that I'm a designer. I design it with meaning behind it of what is going on in Maui, what's going on in my life, what's going on with my kids, or in general what's going on in the hula world, or so we want it. When they come into the store, I want them to be educated. It's not just a flower that I just add just so I can make money, But when they come to Maui, when they come to Hawaii alone, I want them to go home, because I get a lot like, oh, I can't wear that where I'm from. And I'm like, okay, well, where are you from? And they say, oh, I'm from Michigan. I said, okay, well, you can dress it up with the turtleneck if you want to, like say an example of like this dress. You could wear leggings and wear your boots with it. And then are you going to be outside in the snow all day, or are you going to work inside, if you're working in the office, you take your jacket off. And I'm sure the heater's on, so you can, be proud. Be proud to bring home something that is locally made or locally designed from Maui, because I tell them you spend so much money to come to Hawaii, and there's meaning behind the clothes, not just someone that creates, shirts with flowers on it. But I want them to know that there's meaning behind the patterns that we make. And for them to go home and say, hey, I met the Maui designer. I don't have a website. I love meeting people. I love meeting them coming in, and it's it's more meaningful when they come in. I explain to them the design, what the meaning behind it, and I teach my my workers, my staff. I explain to them, say, hey, this is what I'm going to launch. This is what the meaning behind it, and so I want I educate them and I let them know what's behind that story, and that's what makes our brand, everyone else's brand differently, and of course I put my name on there, Pulelehua. So, and people know, oh, that's a Maui brand, and I've noticing, there's more people doing that as well now, so which is pretty good, because you're like, wait, whose brand is that one? And it's really interesting. It's really fun to see the brands who made it, and so I think I answered that question.
I think you did, but you brought up a good point. You say you don't have a website, but you have a brick and mortar store, and you have. I saw you get an Instagram.
Yes.
And I think we're kind of getting close to the end here, and I'd love to have you all kind of have some final kind of closing thoughts, but also let people know where they can shop your stuff, right? So where are you going to be in person? How do they get there? Is it social media? Is it the website? What's your preferred way of people interacting with you? I know you two have the brick and mortar, you don't, but like for all these people and everyone else watching both live and later on recorded, like, how do we buy your stuff, right? And then any closing thoughts? Yeah.
Well, my store is at Maui Mall, Maui Mall Village. I'm located right next to the movie theater, so it's Pulelehua Boutique. I don't have a website. I'm still, I tried it in the beginning, but it was to a point where someone comes in and is like, oh, do you have this size? And it's not on the floor, but I know it's in the website. And so I would tell them, oh, can you go on my website? And I grab it, I'll grab it and give it to you. But then my website and my POS system is not connected together. So, and I forget to take it off. I forget to minus that size that the customer came in, and I gave it to, they purchased it from me, and then I later on at night, I check, I was like, oh no, I sold that size, So it's like, oh, now I have to let her know that, I'm so sorry. I accidentally, I took it out of the website, but I didn't take it out of the website quantity wise. But so it's to a point where I got so confusing, and so, yeah, I love not having a website. You have to come to Maui. You have to come and shop. I love meeting my customers, and I am currently going to be doing a Kauai pop-up for the whole month of December. So Kauai is
Where
it's
in
at Kukui Grove
Okay.
Center. So I am right on the right side. My right side is Times. So it's a corner spot. It's right across from Kauai Bakery. Okay. I chose that because it's it's open and it's cleaner and it's easier to just roll your clothes rack and start. Yeah.
So tell all your Kauai friends.
Yes, please, because I am going unknown. I'm hoping I have applicants that want to work for the whole month of December. If not, I will be flying back and forth, or I'll be living in Kauai for the whole month of December. But yes, so please, if you know anyone that is interested in wanting to work for Pulelehua and loves Hawaiian fashion, it's not a tourist brand; it's a Maui brand. Yeah.
Amazing.
So the brand is Kulua. Our website is kuluamaui.com. Our handle for all the social media platforms is also at Kulua Maui. We'll be at Made in Maui County Festival this week. When is it? This weekend? This weekend. Friday. Friday's Made in Maui. Maui Hawaiian Chamber of Commerce, Holomua, BizFest next week on Friday. And I think there's a couple other things coming up. I'm not sure what they are right now because the holiday season is a marathon for us. But our shop is up in Makawao. We're open Monday through Saturday from 10 to 5.
You can find Henohea online, henohea.com. We'll also be at the Holomua event next weekend on the 14th. And it's easy to find me at pop-up events in Lahaina. For Lahaina Strong, I'm the Community Services Director. So one of the programs that I specifically spearhead is a Lahaina Strong makeke. So whenever we have a makeke, you'll likely find my booth there, unless I'm too busy. Like we just had one on Halloween, and I was so busy I forgot to set up my booth. But there's a lot of moving parts to put on these community events. But for the most part, yeah, I do pop-ups, not always, just whenever my family or my work allows me to do that. But mostly you can just catch me online.
And you all have social media. They all have social media. So if you have social media, go add them, follow them. When you are deciding between going to a big box store, there's no more Liberty House anymore, hasn't been for like 15 years. A big box store or a local company, make sure to go check out our local companies, spread the word about them. Ladies, thank you so much.
Mahalo nui.
Mahalo.
Thank you. To those of you in the audience, thank you. Thank you for your questions. For those of you online as well who put in questions, or Kat's semi-non-question, thank you for that. This is, as we said, the first of 6 in a series called Maui Business Tuesdays every other month. So the next one is in January. Holidays are a marathon. Yeah. Next one is in January, and we do not have a theme yet. So we are searching for those themes, but obviously they are around Maui businesses, right? The journey, the trials, the tribulations, the aspirations, the individual stories of hope, of resilience, like all of these things. Thank you to all 3 of you for so much for sharing a part of your life with us. I think it was very emotional. So thank you. And thank you for taking the time, for the families in the keiki getting here too. Mahalo, mahalo, mahalo. You guys get home safe tonight. Thank you.
Mahalo.